Hey guys, what's up? It's Drew here, quick video blog. I wanted to start this video blog off by first saying that I got engaged. I proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years, and I proposed to her in front of her family and my family, and it was a phenomenal occasion. It actually happened on the 27th of September, and it was great. And I wanted to kind of get into why, why I proposed, and for some people, for some men, they think, oh, the answer is easy. You propose because you love her. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. But love is not, for me, love would not be enough to put myself in a position of vulnerability like that and to propose to a woman, right? So I have friends that are still single. I have friends that are, not exactly where they want to be relationship wise. And they always ask me, they say, why did you choose to propose? Like, why are you choosing to get married? What is driving you to do that? Because look, you give up your autonomy, you give up your freedom. This is how they look at it. You give up all these things, and it's like you make yourself vulnerable now. And now a woman has access to half of your net worth, right? This is the worldly argument for staying single, or staying a bachelor, that most men give. And from a worldly standpoint, from a secular standpoint, they are accurate for giving that, for having that outlook. I think it's a pretty accurate outlook, right? So for them to say that is pretty accurate. However, when I have a friend, his name is Henry. When he was getting married, I asked him the same question because I was struggling with it, because I was like, I'm a man of faith, right? And I follow God. And I know that as a man of faith, to be a single man and to be, out, talking to this woman and that woman and this woman and that woman is not exactly how men of faith should be. I mean, either you're going to be a man of faith that is celibate and that controls your urges or whatnot, or you're going to be a man that has a wife and has children and, raises a family and does right by that woman. So those are two of the choices for me. It's either or for me because I follow God, right? And so I asked him, I was like, what really made you make the decision? And he said, marriage is a covenant with God, because marriage is not something that men are naturally inclined to do. It's opposite man's nature. So to make that covenant with God and to make that agreement with God and to honor it is a display of faith. It's a display of true faith in God, that, you're giving up this life of options, and you're giving up this life of you're not being beholden to anybody. You're taking on more responsibility, and you're trusting God. You're making a vow with that woman in front of God to follow through, honor that woman, and build God's kingdom here on earth in your respective fashion. You see what I'm saying? When you put it in that frame, then it begins to make more sense to me, because I'm very familiar with covenants. I'm very familiar with making agreements with God. If you've watched my earlier videos, I went from making $12 an hour as a clerical guy working in insurance companies. I went from being in customer service capacities, and I went from, working regular jobs to becoming a very successful entrepreneur, without even getting into details of all the things I've attained as a result of this process. That was my transition. Okay. And the reason I got here in that fashion was because I made a covenant with God and I followed God. And one of the covenant was basically, the agreement was, if you allow me to scratch the surface of my potential, I'll express to everybody that it is you who brought me here. I'll show everybody that you brought me here. And I will also make an agreement to live by and follow your principles and follow you, because I believe that I believe that God is wiser. I believe that God is more intelligent. I believe that God wants the best for me. I want the best for everybody, and I follow God. So God said, apparently in my life, like God said, deal, because the amount of money that I make every month is not normal, and the lifestyle that I live is not normal either. Okay, so I believe that everything from that point has been the making of God. I've been working in partnership with God, but everything from that point has been orchestrated and has been controlled by and directed by God, right? So I know the meaning of covenants. That's what I'm trying to say. And so my friend told me that making a covenant is one of the ways by which you solidify your relationship with God, because it's an agreement, and you don't go back on you don't go back on the agreement. You don't operate outside of the grace. You follow the law, you follow the spiritual law, and you honor your commitment. And once he put it like that, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. Because women are multipliers, if you think about it. Women are multipliers. They give you children, you can provide a home for them, a physical home, but they provide like the emotional stability in a family. Women are multipliers. Whatever you give them, they will make more of. So if you give them hell, they'll make more hell. If you give them heaven, they will make more heaven. The right woman, So going back to this point, women, when you make a covenant with God and you make a vow with a woman and you honor that woman, you obtain favor from God, because you're honoring the woman that God sent you. You're showing to God that you have discipline. You're showing to God that you honor your commitments, that you can make more covenants with me. You're showing to God, like, you're not going to be engaging in all types of things that separate you from the Spirit. All kinds of sin, sexual sins, sins of all different kinds of sins that people normally engage in. You're kind of anchored away from that when you have a wife. You're anchored away from those things when you're centered in who you are. You know who your wife is. You plan on having the future with that wife. You build a future with that wife. You stay committed to that wife. And together as partners under God, you follow God. You build you build kingdom that honors God, and you build a great life. And that's kind of like the point, That's the point. So for those of you out there who are married and who are engaged and who see this, kudos to you. It took me some time, but I got to the point where I understand why people do it. I understand why, and I got to the point where I decided I have to do it. And so I'm engaged to my beautiful fiance, and I personally can't wait until we're finally just married, but that's where it's at, and I kind of hope the same for other people, for other men. I hope that they get the same level of understanding when it comes to these things. A woman is not an albatross around your neck. A woman is not a ball and chain. It's not a ball and chain. There are actually people who help strengthen your relationship with God, and they're your partners. They're in this with you. So he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from God. It's biblical. So that is the importance of, I believe, a union between a man and a woman, and that's why, when people say, oh, why are you, like, sometimes people say, like, people have this thing, like, they're for gay marriage and they're for all this and all this stuff and all that. Listen, I personally don't care what people do. All I'm saying is this: marriage has been distorted. Marriage is not just about a union between a man and a woman or a human being. It's not just about a union between two human beings. Marriage is a covenant with God. You're making a vow before God. You can't do you understand how gay marriage is like an insult to God? Because it's like it would be as if It would be as if saying your vows while engaging in sex, before marriage. It'd be like trying to communicate with God while in the process of sinning. Trying to, it's like if God says this is an abomination, this is a sin, and you trust God and you trust his judgment, you trust his wisdom, and you know it's above yours, how could you feel comfortable making a covenant with him that is born out of sin? That's why gay marriage doesn't make any sense to me, because I don't understand marriage outside the realm, outside the, you know, outside the space of God. I don't understand marriage. If you don't believe in God, why would you get married? What's the point? If you don't believe in God, there's no reason to get married, in my opinion, because God is the person, God is the only, in my opinion, it's not just about two human beings. It's about the fact that it's about God. You're making a covenant with God. You're making a vow with God as a man to go against your natural urges, to go against your natural disposition as a human being, your natural biological urge to spread your seed and to go with this woman and that woman and to be free and to be wild. You're making a covenant with God that I will follow you and I will honor the woman that you sent me, and you will see my faith. You'll see how much I'm committed to you because I'm doing this. I'm giving up this freedom. I'm giving up all of this, all these worldly things to follow you, Lord. It's a strong statement. And if you mean it in your heart and you really do give it up, like, it makes a very strong, like, God says you only need faith the size of a mustard seed. That level of faith is way bigger than a mustard seed. And that's what it means when he who finds a wife obtains favor from God. It's more complicated than just finding any woman or anything as a wife. It's about the fact that you're anchored in Christ. Because as a man who has a wife to protect, a family to protect, you're going to be consulting God multiple times. What should I do here? Where should I go here? It's going to strengthen your relationship with God and your reliance on God. So I get it. I understand it. And I've reached the point. And the engagement was beautiful. I got my girl a really nice ring. She loves it. She's always showing it off. It's like, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So anyway, just wanted to share that news. Peace.